Welcome to the InstantCast presented by the Pewtercast. I am Brent Allen, your host. I've got with me, as always, Ren Dax, my co-host. Ren, we are sitting in the parking lot of Raymond James Stadium. We are staring at the, what is this, the south end? Or the north end? The north end zone.
We're looking south.
We're looking south. We're staring at the top of the pirate ship and the big siege of the day, backside of the video board. We have just gotten out of the Bucs versus New York Giants game where the Bucs pulled out a victory at the very end of the game, 25 to 23. Ren, let's talk to people about what we're doing here right now, because we said that we weren't going to do an InstantCast show.
Well, we said we weren't sure how it was going to go. Away games, we're doing InstantCast shows for sure, 9 o'clock Sundays.
Right. Call-in shows.
Call-in show.
Call in.
Yeah, this is not a call-in show, by the way. Was that my cue to say that?
Sure.
Yes, no call-in show, but we decided we had the technology to go live so people could come in the chat room, and if they want to listen to us live, or more importantly, really just chit-chat back and forth in the chat room, talk about what you liked, and you guys can have a conversation while you listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then this will actually be up for download either very early this morning or a little later this morning, either tonight or tomorrow.
It'll be while you're sleeping or sometime after you wake up is pretty much how it's going to work.
It'll be up, it'll be up Monday for sure.
Yeah, so for you guys who are in the chat room, Ren, we've actually got a couple of people who are in the chat room right now,
cool.
A handful of people, so thank you for you guys jumping in. This is actually about an hour earlier than we would normally do an InstantCast.
This is true.
If you're listening to this later and you're like, man, I missed it and they went live, it's because we went early and we didn't really plan on going early. It's just kind of how it worked out. So
we fly by the seat of our pants at home games.
We do. So, hey, for you guys who are in the chat room, if this sounds a little bit different or if it sounds a little bit weird, I apologize. I have no control over what you guys I don't have, like, individual controls over Ren and I. Like, you're kind of getting the ambient noise of what's going on. But we've got the recording going on here, so hopefully we'll have a pretty good quality for when we actually put this out on the podcast feed. So you guys are welcome. We'll try to interact with you guys in the chat room as best we can throughout the course of this broadcast. Already got a little bit of stuff going on. They say that Bucs fan in Oregon, he says, it does sound different, but it's all good. So glad you guys are there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So thank you guys. All right, so Ren, Buccaneers pulled out a narrow victory. Giants came from behind.
Poor Giants.
And it was a shootout there towards the end of the fourth quarter, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bucs came up, won by 2 points, 25-3. And can we just start at the end of the game and talk about that?
How when we had the ball down on their end and the clock and all that? You want to start with that?
Yeah, let's start there.
Okay. Well, before I start there, let's just talk about Roberto Aguayo 2.0.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez. I mean,
that does kind of lead into this whole point,
doesn't it? It was like, oh my God, Nick Folk. No, it was just, it's kind of like, I don't mean to bring up a different sport. The Tampa Bay Rays, they can't find a catcher. It's like all of a sudden the Bucs can't find a kicker. My God.
Mm-hmm.
But, you make the last one to win the game, all's forgiven.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sure guys are sliding over one seat on the bus. Oh, here you go, Nick. Go. Here's a spot. You can sit with me. Sit with me, Nick. Sit with me. So we're driving down the field, and I guess there's about 40 seconds left. And Jameis jumps over 1 yard and kneels it down. And Brent looks at me. He's like, why would you do that now if Folk isn't going to come in and kick it?
Right, and to be clear, he didn't jump forward 1 yard. He jumped to the left 1 yard.
They saw the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just clarifying. He moved
for
laterally.
our blind listeners. I'm just kidding.
We might have one.
Okay, yes. Everyone knows what he was doing. He was centering the ball where Nick Folk likes to kick it from.
Mm-hmm.
And then he kneeled twice, and then they, called a timeout with 4 seconds left. Now I was looking at Brent. I'm like, it's like the reason you kick the ball on third down is in case there's a bad snap. The holder, which is our punter, Brian Anger, maybe he fumbles it. A few things can happen. But Dirk Cutter did not leave enough time on the clock. He's like, screw it. We're going to execute it, and we're going to kick it. If it's good, we win. If it's bad, we lose. But we're not going to kick it and make it good and give the Giants a chance to pull off some sort of, miracle in Ray J for Eli and maybe just the kickoff squad. So, yeah, Dirk made a decision, and he came up smelling like roses.
Yeah, it's that is one of those plays we talk about. Listen, if you make it, you're the hero. If you screw it up, you're the asshole that might be losing his job, or at least that's what
No.
Bucs fans are going to be calling for. Because some of them,
Well, that guy on Twitter you were talking to.
because I don't listen to you and I stay on Twitter during the game.
Don't go on Twitter during the game.
But okay, but what kind of faith does that show in Nick Folk, who has already missed 2 kicks in this game, to instead of put the ball in Jameis's hands or even Jacquiz's hands, who I think he ran for 5.8 yards,
Yeah.
a carry in this game.
16 carries, 85, 87 yards, something like that.
Yeah, Charles Sims had a 14 yards per carry average. Of course, he only had 1 carry, and it went for 14 yards, but still, his average.
That's how you make the Pro Bowl right there.
Mike Evans was having a pretty good game.
He was pretty quiet.
OJ had a good game.
Well,
Cam Brate was we had all
Cam
these
Brate
weapons.
had a good game. Humphreys had a good game.
Humphreys had a good game.
OJ
yeah.
Howard offensively, besides the blocking, it was like Jesus, just like the national championships games. Hey, Clemson, put somebody on that guy. I guess Brent's looking at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. In the national, excuse me, the past 2 years, Alabama has played Clemson in the national championship game. You've probably
I'm
known
aware
that.
of that being
OJ
from Clemson.
OJ
territory.
Howard has broken loose just like that for a touchdown in each of those 2 games against Clemson, where like no one just covered him, and he goes like 60 yards for a score. So that's what I was referencing. I'm sure some of the people in the chat room or who are listening to this the next day, or I shouldn't say the next. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's only 8 o'clock.
It's only 8 o'clock. Yeah, we're good.
My whole day. I've been drinking since 11. Hello. So, yeah, OJ had that one play. He had a catch, but then he also had a drop. Mike had a drop.
So not a perfect day is what we're saying.
Oh, no, and it wasn't a perfect day on either side. Defensively, they still had that just what we thought they were going to do. They're going to take like 4 or 5 shots down the field. If we won 50% of them, I thought we were going to win the game. I thought the cornerbacks would sit on a couple of Eli's routes and go for a pick, possibly get a pick 6. But everyone just sort of kept it in front of them and made them drive the length of the field. But this was easily the best the New York Giants offense looked, and once again we could not get to the quarterback.
Exactly.
And they're supposed to have the worst offensive line.
Right. And so our pass rush definitely is lacking, to say the least.
With 4, for sure.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, Ren, I have never been so excited to get to the All-22 when that posts up later this week. Maybe Tuesday, I think, is generally about when they have it up.
And why is that?
Well, I've got some stuff out of this game that I want to go back and watch. I really want to dissect a lot of the offense. I definitely want to dissect the pass rush and see if we can't crack the code and figure out what's going on there. Now, I'm not saying that I'm some football genius or anything.
Yeah, if you can crack the code, man.
I'm going to call it Mike Smith and be like, Mike, I got it. Mike, I'm going to tell you what it is. I got it for you.
We're going to start you a GoFundMe account, and we're going to be millionaires.
But, it's for myself and my own knowledge of the game and what's going on. Because when you're watching the game live, like we were, it's hard to keep your eye on everything that's going on. You don't get all the replays that you get at home. You don't.
The angles are different with the camera.
Exactly. So I'm personally really excited to go back and watch the All-22 from this game, and the pass rush is definitely one of the things that I'm going to be looking at. They're talking about in the chat room right now. Real quick, we got some new listeners in the chat room since we started, so I want to say shout out to you guys. Thanks for joining us at mixler.com/thepewtercast. Just a reminder, or maybe this is the first thing you're hearing about it, tonight is not a call-in show. This is just going to be Ren and I talking for the duration of however long we decide to keep talking about this game. And this is kind of a surprise thing. And by the way, if you're listening to this, and it sounds a little bit different, that's because we're kind of doing this janky out of my phone. So no worries. And Ren's laughing at me right now because he's like, you're so worried about the
sound Nazi.
I know. But people talk about it in the chat room. So
no, I get you. And that's why our show sounds, better than a lot of those podcasts that are out there. And it's because, I thought it was because of me, but sure, go ahead, take the credit. That's good. No, of course it's because of you.
No, our podcast is more intelligent because you're here. I just try to make it sound good.
I will agree with that.
Neither do
Smartest things Brent said for 200, please, Alex.
All right, let's get back to the game. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the game. Something you said to me is almost as soon as we sat down. No Silver Saligia today. He was one of the guys that was inactive, presumably so that they could activate a couple guys at the defensive end position to help with that non-existent pass rush.
Right.
Didn't seem to hurt them too terribly bad, at least in the first half. Might have hurt them a little bit down the front to not have as many guys on the interior of the D-line.
Yeah, once they started giving Geis the ball, I believe he's a rookie out of – is he out of Clemson or he's out of LSU? I get that mixed up. But this is sort of – it's been this Perkins guy for the Giants, and the Giants are last in the league in rushing yards per game. And once they started feeding Geis the ball – they started to do a little better. So it's sort of hard to say if we missed, Silver on the interior because he's really only short yardage anyway. But yeah, once they started feeding him, they started to move the ball on the ground a little more. Geis, that is.
Yeah. So we have that. Sorry, I was just checking out the chat room to see. We got Kevin who's just jumped in. Chat room's really talking about the kicker right now. So, last week it seemed
Return of the Mac.
Yeah. Last week it seemed like the player that most people were talking about, or at least the two, were Vernon Hargraves and even Jameis Winston quite a bit. So maybe we should prepare ourselves at least for this 4-day stretch that the kicker is going to be a position that is going to be talked about.
All is forgiven in my book.
That's what I meant to say before we moved on from that. So I'll go back to that. What kind of faith does it show in a kicker that he can go out, he can miss 2 kicks in the game, and we can still put the ball on his foot purposely to win the game?
I don't think they had any choice. Now, I understand what you're saying.
They don't have any choice. What do you mean they don't have any choice?
Well,
we detailed all the weapons for Winston. They were, on the 10-yard? I don't know where they were. 12 yards. They were so close. They could have punched that into the end zone for a touchdown, but instead they put it on the foot of the kicker who's already missed 2. I'm just saying that shows a lot of faith in my book.
Well, at least they gave him the chance to redeem himself. And they did that constantly last year as well.
With Aguayo, yeah.
The who will not be named.
Lord Voldemort.
With Aguayo. But, don't forget they went for it on 4th down when he could have had like a 46-yarder, and then they went for it, and you could say this is more because of the score, but they went for 2 when they could have kicked the extra point, but that only put them up by 2, or only up by 6, and if they went for 2, they would have went up by 7. So that was their thinking there. But still, I mean, after he missed his second field goal and already missed an extra point, the next 2 tries that he could possibly have, they were like, no thanks. Like, we're going to go for a 4th down. No, we're going to go for 2. But, but like I said, I'm always forgiven. With the new way the extra point is, I've said this once or twice, I don't think there's going to be a kicker in the league that kicks 100% extra points this year. So some are going to be missed. Now, obviously, it's a little, concerning that 2 and 3 games have been missed. But he was perfect with his field goals, and he just missed today. And the Giants missed one too. Maybe it's Ray J. People can't kick in Ray J. It's not Aguayo's fault.
And tonight, and I had this thought when the Giants guy missed his kick. The field was wet, balls were wet all night long. We had a big downpour during the first quarter.
That was fun.
My socks got so soaked, I went and bought new socks.
Were those you bought those?
I bought those, yeah, at the team store right here.
Brent asked me if he looked dumb.
Which I did. I feel like I do, but they're Buccaneer socks, so I'm just, you can look dumb when you're supporting your team.
Have you seen what these people wear at these games?
Oh, I have. They put them up on a big, huge ass screen.
People got those socks on their hands. They're using them for mittens. You're fine.
Yeah. People talking in the chat room. Refs missing a bunch of calls, specifically a lot of holds.
That'll be something. There was not that many holds. I was surprised about because the Giants have been also beating the crap out of themselves with penalties, and they didn't do that this game. And the Bucs didn't have a lot, but it just seemed that there was a few. But holding is like one of the old adage: you can call a holding penalty on any play in the NFL, and I don't think there was one. Not that I can remember.
There was,
not an offensive lineman holding. There was
right,
there was a defensive holding, like a defensive back, and it was against us. I remember that. But yeah, so I don't know if that's a conscious effort. And here's something interesting. When Coach Cutter did his Friday show in Call-In, I thought this was a great question. Something I'd actually been wondering for a few years now is, do they scout the referees? Because referees has tendencies. Some crews call lots of pass interference. Some crews call lots of offensive holds. Some false starts and things like that. That's just gonna happen. They all call that. But he said, yeah. He's like, yeah, we have a scouting report. And he said Mike Smith has been logging and scouting and basically writing down what the referees do for over 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I always wondered that.
That's one of those like. That's like some
how do you fall into
next
that
level stuff right there.
How do you fall into that job? You're in high school.
What
do you want to do for a living?
So here's the deal.
I'm going to track NFL referees.
You know who I bet would do that? Is Chris Fisher, formerly of Bucs Brief Podcast. I bet he has that.
I wouldn't know. I don't know. I don't know him well enough. I've never listened to his podcast.
Really?
It was over before I even knew it existed.
Oh, it was pretty good.
I'm sure. I mean,
it was good. It was very X's
and
O's oriented.
He's still very well respected in the community.
He is. Though I may disagree with some of his stuff from last week, particularly regarding our quarterback. I can at least respect his thought on it. But, Chris, if you're listening, I do happen to disagree, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. Why don't we get back to this game? First quarter. I want to go back to the first quarter because I was highly impressed by the Buccaneers in the first quarter.
Move the ball.
Of course, what matters more is what happens in the fourth quarter, not so much the first quarter. But Glanton had a great first quarter. I want to say he had a pretty good game all throughout, but I really noticed him in the first quarter. Jacquizz had a pretty big first quarter.
Yeah. Ran the ball, especially when he broke off that 34-yarder. That pretty much made his day.
Yeah.
That was it. Nothing. I don't think anything over 10. Maybe one more over 10, which is still a good day. 2 rushes, like 45 yards. But everything else is pretty pedestrian after that for him.
Yeah. Beckwith, I thought Beckwith kind of came in. He didn't have the big, huge splash or command that Quan has. I think we're definitely still missing Quan. But, Kendall coming in as a rookie. Let's not forget this guy is a rookie who was not really expected to play much this year because he was coming off of an injury.
If at all.
Yeah, if at all. Exactly. And if he was probably going to play a strong side linebacker position more so than anything else. So here he is filling in, picking up this job for Quan and doing a fairly serviceable job.
Well, not only that, but this was talked about a little bit, but it seemed to be picked up late, sort of in the news cycle this week, was, he had the communicator. Everyone sort of talked about that early.
Right.
But he had the communicator, which means he had to make defensive calls, which means he was the one, once the communicator goes off, would had to play the chess match with Eli Manning. I mean, and who, how many games? Oh, this is my 3rd game. Okay.
Right.
And I got 2 Super Bowl rings and, all these wins and, I'm this veteran quarterback. And, I'm not in the huddle. I don't know what the calls are. And even if I did hear them, I probably wouldn't know what the hell they mean. So I can't say if he did a good job or a bad job. I know he had a lot of tackles, and he was all over the place, and he had some pass coverage breakups. I want people to talk about this in the chat room if you want. Could have Beckwith got to that tipped ball for an interception instead of blasting that guy in the back?
Yeah. I had that as a note to talk about.
Yeah.
If Kendall, Kendall was going in and he was going to tackle one of the receivers or tight end or something, and he just had his head down.
I think it was a back.
It was one of those guys.
He took a pot shot at him.
He did. And it would have been the right hit had the guy actually caught the ball. But before Kendall even got to him, he tips the ball, and if Kendall had his head up, he could have seen that and maybe rolled over and turned that into an interception.
Yeah.
And I absolutely that again, one more play that I'm really excited to go.
Or the fans that got to watch it on TV. I'm sure they saw the replay more than once. Was it just too far away from him and it didn't matter? It's like one of those things we were talking about earlier here at the game. It's like can't really tell sometimes because the angle you're at from where the play is from when you're sitting, and then even though they do put the replay up on the board, it's not up there. It doesn't run like slow-mo replay.
Right.
And sometimes it doesn't get to the play because
it actually cuts off before you get to the part you wanted to see again.
Because the team's like doing a no huddle or a hurry up, and they'll cut it and go back to a live feed on the field.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see that. So I thought, hey, some of these guys that are coming in, filling in for our injured guys, injured Quan. Think about that. 2/3 of our starting linebacker core is out on injury.
Yes.
And our defense, while maybe not as dominant as we would like them to be or as we're used to seeing, still performed pretty well. Now, let's talk about
especially
dominance.
early.
Yeah, let's talk about dominance. Gerald freaking McCoy in the first quarter. You leaned over to me at
Oh,
some
God.
point and said he had 3 tackles for loss.
That's his
in
third
the
tackle.
first quarter.
That's his third tackle for loss. Yeah, he must. I think it was probably over 10 yards because one of them was for like 7 yards, and he had a tackle for loss like on the first play and then the third play, and it was like, all right, they've run 3 plays. Gerald McCoy has 2 tackles and 2 of them were tackle for loss or minus 10 yards, and then he got one later in the first quarter, and I was like, okay, we're off to the races, and then as he seems to do, not that he has a bad game after that, but Gerald McCoy seems to splash in the first quarter, and then those plays you don't see sort of, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter.
Do you think that has something to do with Gerald McCoy? He's so fast off the ball, he's so powerful that when the offensive lineman that he's going against, like he almost takes them by surprise for the first quarter, and it takes them that long to kind of settle into how he works. And I don't want to say that they get used to him, but it just takes them a while to figure out how to.
I think they
play
bring
against
help
him.
is what happens. They're like, okay, you're going to take Gerald McCoy, and then they run a series or two and go, okay, that's not going to work. We need to get you help, and that's when maybe Gerald starts to disappear. Things like that. Like you saw that first play in the Bears game where he just punches the guy, sends him across, and then tackles Howard for a loss. First play of the game, hey, tackle for loss, Gerald McCoy. I would think it's probably more along those lines where they try to see what they got, see if their man can take McCoy one-on-one because it makes their offense, scheme, means they can do more things, and it takes away things that the Bucs can do along the defensive line. But once you figure out that, this is not going to work, we're not going to be able to move the ball if we don't put another guy on, some more hands on Gerald McCoy, that's what I would think is the reason why his tackle for loss and splash plays diminish after the first quarter.
Just to go back to what we were talking about with Kendall Beckwith, Kevin over in the chat room says that he thinks that Kendall could have caught that interception.
Okay.
So his opinion is, at least if I'm reading Kevin's message there, right, it does look like that. He is talking about the ultra rare double passing interference call.
Yeah.
That we had in this game.
Yeah, I looked at you and I said, I've never seen that happen.
He says it's a first.
I've never. Is it?
Do you know what I think? You know what I think happened there? And I thought
they
in the moment.
they both pass interfere with each other.
No, possibly. I honestly think that. Okay, fine, but I think the one ref came over. I think the one ref threw the flag, and he was all like, passing interference, passing interference, passing interference. And in their little huddle, they just said, well, it was kind of on both of them. Let's call it on both and let it cancel out. Like, instead of just picking up the flag, I think they did that just so they would offset.
Well, if I remember it correctly, I think the flags came in at 2 different times. One came right off the ball where Mike just grabbed him by the shoulders and threw him out of the way. Pass interference. You can't do that. And then when he got by him, Jenkins, I believe it was Jenkins, was recovering. Well, and his way to recover was to grab Mike's shirt and just pull him towards him, and and try to keep him towards you. Then the second flag came in on Jenkins, so that's where it happened. But yeah, I've never seen that. I guess I'm assuming they said that on the broadcast. That it's the first time ever the double pass interference penalty. I've never seen that.
Speaking of another, now this would be a reason not to watch the L22, but to go back and watch the broadcast. I am personally interested in how it was listening to Tiki and Rondé.
Oh yeah, I would love to see a comment in that.
Did you see them from across the way?
No.
Like where our seats are, if you look over, you can see the Fox Sports broadcasting booth. They had the windows wide open tonight, and they had the light shining bright on them for the camera for that. Bucs
Could you tell them apart? It's a dumb question. Don't answer it.
It
Go
was
ahead.
really far away.
It is. I know. It's like 100 yards
Rondé was
away.
in red. Tiki was in blue.
Really? Suit-wise or shirt? Or are you just making that up?
Maybe they're tie. I don't. I'm completely making that up.
All right.
Bucs fan in Oregon is asking about Spence. Noah Spence, how'd you feel about him today out there? We know he's playing in a shoulder harness like he did last year. He actually seemed to play better with the shoulder harness last year.
He didn't splash a lot for me, I saw him every once in, pop up every once in a while. But that's gonna, for Noah Spence, at least for me, that's gonna something I'm gonna have to go back and look at the box score. See the pressures he got, and look at the all 22 or the broadcast, sort of to see how he did. The only one that really sticks out in my mind is where they were near down. They're on not their side of the field, but they were pinned close to their end zone at the time, and Eli faked the pitch and spun out, and then Noah Spence was right in front of his face, and Eli had to throw it to nobody, basically intentionally ground it. There was a receiver in the area, but basically he was getting rid of the ball, and that's pretty much the only play I really remember. Noah Spence. Once again, there's a lot going on at games, man.
Yeah.
There's people going up and down the stairs in front of you. There's people going back and forth in front of you. Every time the play's over, music starts.
Right.
Like
and we are and where our seats are, we are right below the speaker.
Yeah.
That has to fill the entire stadium.
Yeah. So I mean, it's So it's there's just so much. It's almost like sensory overload. I kind of forget sometimes that I'm there to be able to talk about the game later, and I'm just kind of like there in the experience,
Yeah. No, I would encourage
watching people dance on the jumbotron.
Let's remember, we are fans first, and so be there for the experience. And this InstantCast is just about initial reactions. We'll dissect it and look at it later for the main show. And get in there. So yeah, it's we can absolutely be there. Kevin over in the chat room is talking about Tiki and Rondé, saying that it was good. Said Rondé was showing off his knowledge as a defensive back and gave lots of kudos to the team, and he was critical of certain play calls. But yes, to Grimes, said he definitely loves Grimes. Let's talk about Grimes tonight on a welcome back.
What a difference that guy makes.
Oh
Holy
my gosh. It's like watching a whole different defense when he's out there.
Yeah. Hey, look, they threw to somebody, and there's a guy covering him. Oh, my God.
And you know what? If Grimes might have been a little bit taller, he might have had an interception tonight.
Well, okay.
I mean,
the one row day. O'Day.
O'Dang.
O'Day Beckham. Odell Beckham, one-handed reached up, and I guess it was high and outside from Eli, and he was behind him.
Somewhere, I don't know. And Grimes got in between them, and he jumped up, and it just went over Grimes' head. I didn't feel like it was that far. I don't feel like it was that far out of his reach. He just couldn't quite reach it. But
it was really nice seeing a Bucs defensive back in position, making a play on the ball again.
It was.
It was like, hey, oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, and I mean, I made a note about Vernon. At least early in the game, I thought he had a pretty good first quarter. Anyway. Now he may not have been all over coverage like Grimes was, but I thought he did okay, at least in the beginning of the game. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm with you there. I thought once again he had a good first quarter, and what a shock because we were up 13-0, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did have a first good quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Off the top of my head, I'm just going to sort of say it sort of slid after that. Yeah. I'm waiting for his game that he has that reminds you of Brent Grimes.
You wait. You mean you're waiting for the game that Vernon has that reminds you of Brent
Yes,
Grimes? Is that what you're saying?
I'm waiting for this game. He's a high draft pick. If I'm never going to call him a bust because he'll probably be with the team through 2 contracts. As long as he doesn't get hurt or fall. His talent falls off the face of the cliff. So, anybody who plays that long, no matter where you're picked, it's a good pick. But as far as this, shut down, lockdown, one of these guys, Xavier Rhodes, Trufant from Atlanta, Jenkins from New York, him blossoming into one of these guys, my optimism every game seems to tick a little, say I got
so you think he may just be more of the workhorse rather than the...
Yeah, he'll always be the number 2 cover corner.
Yeah.
There's always got to be somebody better than him on the other side.
Right.
Or
but
the
he's
defense.
Good to be the number 2 guy.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But, he was drafted. We were sort of expecting, this is the best cover corner in the draft. Well, then it was a terrible draft for cover corners. But once again, we said how hard it is to transition from cornerback from college to football. And by no means I'm giving up on him. I'm just I'm ready to see him have a game where he makes plays on the ball and not just makes tackles.
Right. And this is very early in the second year of his career. So
agreed.
he's got a long time left to go. Want to give a quick shout out to the new people who have joined us in the Mixler chat room over at mixler.com/thepewtercast. Hello to everybody. Just a reminder, this is not a call-in show. This is just Ren and I sitting in a parking lot. Oh, I know. This is Ren and I just sitting in the parking lot staring at the beautiful Raymond James Stadium as they are not cleaning it.
Not cleaning it.
Not cleaning it.
At least not
At least not right now. But it does look like they finally turned off the video boards and saved the energy on that. I'm kind of waiting for security to come around and tell us we got to move.
No,
There's lots of cars around.
There's like 300 cars around.
I'm
here.
just waiting on them. But anyway,
I've been waiting a long time, and I won't be here.
So we have that. All right. I've just got 2 more notes, Ren. So if you got anything else you want to talk about, that's cool. But one of those 2 notes I want to talk about is Donovan Smith. Now, I did notice that there was a couple of times, particularly on a sack that Jameis took, the guy came around and the guy who flushed Jameis out of the pocket was the guy that Donovan was supposed to be blocking.
Right.
So you can kind of put that one on Donovan a bit. But Donovan also had a really cool play going out in front of, I believe it was Jacquizz Rodgers.
Yep.
Broke off. Jacquizz got out in front of Donovan. Donovan's supposed to go out and block for him. And Donovan came up from behind, ran faster than Jacquizz, and got back in front of him and made a pretty cool block to let Jacquizz break off for, I think, got a first down out of that play.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they like him. You know, he's very athletic for a left tackle. I don't know why he has these and it's really hard. It's like he's going up against the best 32 pass rushers that walk the face of the planet. Right. You know, but there are teams out there that have left tackles that don't give up sacks. So you think you get drafted in the second round, even though he's drafted as a redshirt sophomore. You know, this once again, you know, we've said it before. This is actually his rookie season or his rookie class. If he would have stayed at Penn State.
This class that's playing right now, or
right
the
now,
one coming up?
The one that just got drafted.
Okay.
Well, same with Jameis.
These would be their rookie classes.
He would have came in with Fournette. He would have came in with Christian McCaffrey. He would have came in with O.J. Howard. Yeah, this is the same class. So I don't know. I haven't seen it. He did get out in front. But you know, there's just always seems that there's always one or two plays you're just like, oh, yep, okay, he beat Donovan Smith, okay, and you just sort of learn to accept it. But I don't want it to get to that point. You know, his coach George Warhop said at the beginning of the year, you know, when they get to talk to when all the assistant coaches get to talk to
the media.
The media, thank you. He said he can be a top 3 left tackle in the league, and everyone was like, okay, this is his year. Well, you know, once again, it just sort of hasn't all come together for him yet. So we'll see. So besides that play where he popped up, I don't know. I you know, who knows? He had a good game. Jameis is still alive. He's still walking. His legs aren't broke, so he didn't give up a big enough sack, and we won the game. So that's sort of how I look at things like that.
Sure.
You know, with Nick Folk, like, hey, he missed like two field goals and an extra point. Yeah, but he kicked the winner, so everything's good. You know, it's like, Donovan Smith gave up a sack. Yeah, but we won.
So we're good.
And Jameis, you know, isn't broken in half. So we're good.
Right. Well, and let's at least give Jameis a little bit of kudos for taking the sack as opposed to throwing something stupid.
Yeah.
And forcing. How about Jameis with no interceptions today?
Right. Only one terrible pass that I remember, where he was under pressure and he tried to get it to Howard and basically threw it right to the defensive lineman's hands.
Right.
And he could.
I saw
that guy was like, oh, my God. He was like a grizzly bear trying to catch a salmon, like, blah, blah, blah. And it just, like, squirted away. So thank God that guy was trying to catch the ball. That was the only bad pass that, you know, I remember right now off the top of my head. Yeah, he had a good day. 3 touchdowns, 300 yards. I thought we were going to pound the ball enough where his stats would not be fantasy worthy, like QB1 worthy. I thought he was going to throw for like 215 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's not terrible, you know, especially if you win. But fantasy-wise, that's like 18, 19 points. And that's not really what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But, you know, 303, that is what you're looking for.
I haven't looked at it yet, but in a throwaway league that I'm in, I have Aaron Rodgers and I have Jameis Winston. And I started Jameis Winston just because I wanted to see.
Right.
And I'm a bit of a homer. I haven't looked yet, but I'm kind of excited to go back and see. I won't go do it right now because we are broadcasting live on Mixler. Shout out. Hey, we've got some more new people in the chat room. So
I'm sure
welcome
somebody's
to you
got
guys.
Jameis Winston or played Jameis Winston.
Yeah, if anybody in the chat room has Jameis, or at least you can look up what his fantasy numbers were today, drop it in the chat room. I'd love to know.
And say if it's ESPN or NFL
Yahoo?
or Yahoo.
NFL,
See where you got the points, because that makes a difference.
It does. It does. We got somebody in the chat room talking about Brian Anger, our favorite punter.
Yeah.
Best punter in the league. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that moniker out there.
Yeah, God, was he standing on his own 20 and pinned him back on the 10-yard line?
It was the 11.
Yeah,
and that's why I leaned over to you.
And it was angled too. It wasn't like he just kicked it. He kicked it towards the sideline where the guy sort of if he caught it, he was gonna have to his momentum would have taken him out of bounds. It was just we he's looking at that New York Giants fans. Yeah, we do that all the time. Yeah, get used to that all game, guys. Get used to that. 90 yards or more. Good luck.
How about I don't even know who it was. Didn't see a name or a number on a jersey to make out exactly who it was. But remember last year we had the play that has so affectionately become known as the smooth criminal play?
I believe it was the Josh Robinson
Ryan Smith
combo again. It was on the way other side of the field.
Yeah, and it was jumping into the end zone, catching it and throwing it back to his partner, who happened to be right there, pinned him on the 2.
And then 2 drives later, the Giants guy runs into the end zone and watches it come towards him, but he's already in the end zone, so he looks at his buddy. Hurry, come get it! And it goes back in the end zone. And you found that funny as hell.
I did.
You laughed out loud for uncomfortably long time. Rah, rah, rah. I'm it's really not that funny. I mean, it is funny, but yeah, it got to the point where I felt like you were just doing it to rub it in to any Giants fan that could hear you.
There was a lot of Giants fans around us.
There was a lot of Giants fans everywhere.
We were talking about this walking out of the stadium about kind of what the mix was.
Yeah.
And I think
because you look in the crowd, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
You would say, it's probably 80-20. But when you got out of your seat and went to the bathroom or got a Coke or were walking into it was 60-40 Bucs.
Yeah.
And you could push it and be it was kind of 45-55 Buccaneers.
Yeah,
I mean,
might have been.
They were
it was crazy.
everywhere. But it was all these transplants. I heard this guy, and he's talking in his, his Jersey accent or New York accent. And he's like, I've lived down here 28 years, but I love Odell Beckham. And it's 28 years. He couldn't have been 40. Mm-hmm. So he moved down here, when he was in his teens, and he's still a Giants fan.
Yep.
It's
welcome to Tampa, buddy.
Yeah,
welcome to Tampa. We got a team here too.
28 years.
Yeah. So just an update on fantasy points. They're telling us 26 points from ESPN. He had 32 points basically on Yahoo.
Right.
And said Eli Manning actually had 27. Did one better than him on ESPN. So I believe Aaron Rodgers had 23. So I might have come out ahead on that particular call.
Do you play a Yahoo league?
Maybe.
It doesn't matter.
No, I don't think so.
Well, Aaron Rodgers didn't throw for a lot of yards. He only threw with 179, but 4 touchdowns. That's why he spiked up there.
So let's see here. What else did we have? Third quarter. Probably the most heartbreaking part of the entire game to me was that whole third quarter.
Why?
Because that's where we lost the lead and
missed a field goal.
We missed a field. We just couldn't do anything right in the third quarter.
Giants started driving the ball. Geist started giving it to Geist.
Yep.
Yeah. Those short intermediate passes, slants, and 7-yard dig routes were open everywhere. And, they're just doop, 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 down the field they went.
Mm-hmm. It was – and, the third quarter to me I think is the quarter that seems to be forgotten the most. When because you got the first quarter, that's when you start. You got the second quarter, what you're doing right before you go in the half. Fourth quarter, certainly how you end the game. The third quarter just seems to be this.
That's where you win or lose ball games.
It really is.
That's where the good coaches separate themselves.
It really is.
That's why I like when someone also asked this question, Dirk Cutter on Friday during his radio show was, sometimes you kick off, sometimes you receive or defer. And he's like, that's just something we sort of get our heads together, game day, a couple minutes before kickoff, and we decide to do it. I'm a huge if you win the toss, defer and get the ball in the third quarter because I love scoring late in the third or late in the second, and then you get the ball and you score in the third. You could be down 10 points and score a touchdown, get the ball in the third, score a touchdown. Now you're up 4, and the other team hasn't even touched the ball yet.
Right.
That's what I like that. So anyway, But yeah, that's where the old Dallas Cowboys with Jimmy Johnson and the big three, Aikman, Irving, and Emmitt Smith. That's where they just sort of, it's like a close game. It's like 7 points, 10 points, something like that. And then third quarter's over, and you're down like 17. When you're down like 21, you're like, what happened? Like we were just in this game. So anyway.
Yeah, quick shot. Man, the chat room is just continuing to blow up. We're getting more and more people, seems like, every time I look down.
It's because it's right after the game.
Yeah.
This is right. This is it. This people know this is the spot. You want to come talk Bucs football with other knowledgeable Bucs fans? Normally you get to call in and, sorry, you just got to listen to us. But, they're in the chat room. They're talking. This is where you get to, like, did you see this? Did you see that? Oh, my God, what a good game. Oh, my God, what a terrible play. Dirk Cutter, what is balls of steel? His balls are so big he can't cross his legs.
Yeah.
Like, this is where this information comes from.
Yeah. So shout out to all you guys joining us, mixler.com/PeterCast. If you are listening to this on the podcast feed, thank you for downloading and listening. And join us live. We usually go 9 o'clock on Sunday nights. At least that's going to be it for away games.
I have no idea what
we're
going to
just go game by game.
What the hell's going to happen Thursday?
Thursday night, I promise you there will be no InstantCast that night. Ren and I may get our heads together. We might do something on Friday or Saturday, or possibly just keep it at our regular time on Sunday.
Baby mama's coming to the game.
Yeah,
she don't want to hang out. She wants to get on the road and go home.
And go home to the babies. So that is what's going on. But hey, I want to encourage everybody who is in the chat room right now. Go ahead. I think we're about to wrap up this show. So if you've got something you'd like to talk about, we will shout it out. Just drop it in the chat room. We'll talk about it, and we'll go from there. So we talked about third quarter. We were just there. Oh, crap. I just closed my notes. Dang. If this was a regular recording, I would just edit that part out. But it's not. This is live.
You would.
Let's
do that again. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the PeterCast.
Start the whole thing over. We're done. Starting it over.
This is your host, Brent Allen.
I do want to talk about Jameis for a minute.
Okay.
And specifically,
like behind his back?
No,
rude.
I will talk to him in front of his face. I would love to get Jameis on a microphone right now so I could ask him about this. I'm not going to badmouth him. I'm not. Some of the conversations that were going on last week about Jameis, while I understand where they were coming from, they were ridiculous. But I do want to talk about this. Jameis, when he decides to run the ball himself, okay, he gets, something happens, he gets flushed out of the pocket, he decides to run. I've noticed that he has a tendency to continue to try to throw the ball down the field and keep his head up, as opposed to tucking the ball and running.
Yeah.
And he went off for one, and I started yelling. I was like, just run, Jameis. Just run. Just run. Just run. Just run.
Just run it,
go.
Jameis.
And
just run.
He finally did, and he got the first down.
Yes, he
did. If Jameis is running the ball, all I'm looking for out of him at that is a first down. I don't need him to break off 20, 30 yards.
Unless it's 3rd and 30.
Hey, listen, if he can do it by all means. But my question to you, Ren, and to anyone in the chat room who wants to contribute to this conversation, is should Jameis continue to look down the field to try to throw it, or should he just tuck the ball and freaking run?
He should continue to look down the field and try to throw it, because that's how he got that first down to Adam Humphries one play when he was scrambling.
It's true.
Let's go back last year to the Chicago play, where he okey-dokied in the end zone and weaved out and played snake and centipede and then threw it down to Mike. That's something that the better quarterbacks all do. Now, there are some quarterbacks, such we'll say like Russell Wilson, who, when he sees a big acreage of land out there, he'll tuck it and go. But that's just not Jameis' style. Plus, Russell Wilson is probably, a good half second faster than Jameis in the 40. Jameis, when he runs, he looks like, he's just a goof. He's a goof. He's a goof. So I just want him to get what he can and get down, I'm not a huge fan of the way the Mannings do it, how they get down like, you got down too early. Like, save your body, but that's too early.
You notice they don't really slide; they more roll.
If anyone got next to Peyton, he'd like fire the ball at his offensive lineman's feet. Oh, things like that. And he still had 27 neck surgeries, 28 neck surgeries.
Yeah.
42 neck surgeries. So anyway, it doesn't, for his, at least in his case, doesn't save your body. But you do get to have a long NFL career, and that's kind of what I want to see out of Jameis. Live to fight another day.
They're saying in the chat room he is a lot better I'm assuming they're saying at running the ball than people give him credit for.
He is, yes, because he looks like such a goof. He just does. Let's face it. I mean, the guy walks around with his shirt tucked into his little basketball shorts. He looks like a goof.
He does.
So, I mean, whatever.
He does. JJ Dakota is saying between the kicking miscues and missed chances at touchdowns, they left 11 points out there. I think I counted 18 at one point, personally.
You had 8.
Uh-huh.
And then what happened? Yeah.
And
so
missed a field goal.
2 missed field goals, an extra point, and then you counted they should have got a touchdown when they had the ball on the 1.5-yard line.
Yep.
Where they reversed that touchdown on Mike Evans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's 6, 7, and then 4 more. 11. Yeah.
11. Yeah, I feel like I got up to 18 at some point in the game.
You were just mad.
I might have been. We should have had 34 points extra. We left those out on the field. But I would, I would.
Yeah, I'm down with the 11. I feel you. Yeah, that's exactly what we were
somebody tweeted at me earlier saying you can actually take another 7 on that because I guess the Giants scored off of something that we missed, and they wouldn't have had we actually made it.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm not exactly sure what play they're talking about.
I think you're saying when you missed the field goal, they got like the ball at midfield, and they went down and scored.
That might have been it. Yeah.
But you can't say for sure that even if you did make the field goal and you kicked off, that you were going to stop them. I mean, the field was shorter, but you can't, say that was a 7-point swing, or a 11-point swing because you missed the 3 and they scored 7. You can't say that for sure. I see where you're coming from, but yeah, if that's the way they're thinking about it, you just can't do that.
All right, well, I've only got one more thing that I want to talk about. So if you guys over in the chat room got something you want to drop down, you want us to talk about, please go ahead and do it. Ren, before I get to the thing that I've got, do you have anything left from this game that's kind of burning for you on an instant take level before we kind of sign off and start putting our thoughts towards the main episode later this week?
Marpet had another bad snap. Killed the drive.
He got a couple.
Did he? See,
I think he had a couple.
I only remember the one. Maybe I only saw the one.
You're talking about the one where he went low? There's a couple where he went low.
Actually, I didn't see it. You know how it happened? Because I heard you yelling about it. Like, I was probably standing up letting one of these Giant fans go in and out.
Right.
The ones next to us, they must have got up like 3 times a quarter.
And she always got up as the play was going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she couldn't stop and wait for the play to develop and then come in.
Yeah.
No. She had to get up and go right when the ball was getting
And
stopped.
she's saying, excuse me, as she's like already halfway by you, brushing through your knees. And it's like, man, you're starting to really irritate me there, Beckham. Of course, she had an Odell Beckham jersey on. Anyway, the point being is I heard you said, oh, Allie, and then I sort of saw Jameis, the crowd was like, whoa! And then Jameis, like, I saw him, like, coming from the squatting position, like he had to pick the ball up.
Yep.
And then he fired it, and it was an incomplete pass, and then that brought up 4th down. It was like, that's got to stop.
It does.
That's got to stop.
It does. Now, no excuses. 0 excuses. I'm not giving anybody any excuses.
Don't say wet ball.
I'm just going to say no excuses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Giants had a wet ball. They didn't have any bad snaps. I mean, and
right, but the Giants center is not in his third game as a center transitioning from another spot.
It doesn't matter, Brent. I mean, it's not a difficult – this isn't a difficult skill. That's like – it's not a difficult skill. It's like –
Have you ever played center?
Yes, I have. I never had to shotgun because I was like 8. But, yeah, I played center. I did.
Very good. I played center one game. I swore I'd never do it again.
I have played had to be a shotgun center in flag football. But
well, there's a comparative analysis there.
The distance is just as far.
Fair enough.
And I did have one hit the ground.
All right. All right. Well, you got anything else?
No, that's it. It was just, it was an up and down game. It was a roller coaster, man. It started off, we were all high, and all the Giants fans shut their fat mouths. And then, we sort of it started to slip a little bit with the missed field goals. I'm like, it should be 20-10, but now it's not. It's 20-16. It was, and then they take the lead, and now they're all like rah 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 rah, and then I think then we missed another field goal, or went for it on 4th down and missed, and now they're really hyped. But the Bucs stopped them. We got the ball and went down and scored. And that's when, everything went up again. And then as soon as that pass was complete to Cam Braid on that last drive, when he sort of juggled and tipped to himself, it was by Felicia time, and the Giants guys just headed for the exit.
Pouring out.
They started pouring out.
Yeah, they did. I will say this disappointed me a lot. In our section that we were in, there was I think you were actually out for this time. There was a guy who was going up and down the aisle, who was pointing to all of the Giants fans.
Yeah.
And then and there was probably 8, 9, 10 rows in a row on the aisle of Giants fans where we were. Like, you and I were number 8.
Yeah, there was Giants fans behind us, directly behind us, directly in front of us.
Yeah, we were surrounded
by them.
But he would go down, and this was in the third quarter when the Giants had just gotten up, and he starts just going F you, flicking both birds out of both hands as he's walking up and down the aisle.
At the Giants fans?
Yeah, at the Giants fans. I was like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah, you're gonna get punched in the face.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Be a better fan. The girl who was sitting directly in front of us was like, really? Was that necessary? I leaned forward and I said, on behalf of all Bucs fans, I apologize. That's just dumb. Yeah,
and go F yourself.
Get out of my stadium. Okay, so I had this exchange during the game because I do not do what you tell me to do, and that's stay off Twitter during a game.
I don't tell you to do that. I say I do it, and I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. I got into an exchange on Twitter via the Pewtercast Twitter handle, which you guys can go. I'll check this. You can see the entire conversation. Follow us on Twitter at the Pewtercast.
Dragging me into it.
And this guy was just saying, if Coach Cutter's play calling does not get better, we should be asking for his job.
Okay.
Would you care to respond?
What is he talking about?
He's just saying how he didn't feel like Coach Cutter was a good play caller. And there was a couple of people who were like, yeah, I don't like his play calling either. But he was just saying if Cutter's play calling doesn't get better, then we need to be asking ourselves if he's the right coach and looking to fire him.
I'm not going to respond to that again. Just like last week where you brought up the
Come on, I'm trying to get you angry. I'm trying to get you mad. That's good for ratings, Ren.
Is this what's going on? There is no fan in the NFL that agrees 100% with any of their coaches, with every of their coaches' play calls. It's just not going to happen. Were there some things that made me scratch my head today? Yeah. Were there some plays that were absolutely unstoppable and got us positive yards? Maybe a 58-yard touchdown to a wide-open fucking tight end. Oops, sorry. To a wide-open tight end.
There goes our PG.
There it goes. There, you made me mad.
All right, we're PG-13. You get one of those a show.
You don't – every play they ran was set up for that O.J. Howard play. And it worked, perfectly. And so Cutter play calling is not the problem. And I don't know if there really is a problem. It's today was missed field goals. Okay, even if you don't get that touchdown, because not everyone scores from the 2, and that could be a bone of contention. You run it, you throw it to Mike, and then how did they miss? But they had to kick a field goal, and I think he missed the field goal. No,
yeah.
Did he miss that short one?
I think he did.
Or did he make it?
You said he was perfect on his field goals. I don't think that's true.
No,
but I'm not going to correct you.
Before this game. The first 2 weeks he was perfect with his field goals.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So anyway, no, they didn't make it. That's why it was only a 4-point swing instead of a 7-point swing. He did make that field goal. So I can see down there in the 1.5 you don't score. You're like, the play calling. But is it really the play calling? I mean,
is it play calling or execution?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's where you get. And you don't understand X's and O's the way somebody like Dirk Cutter does, be able to get a guy like O.J. Howard open like that for just, I'm just going to walk in. I'm good. So I get it. You're a passionate fan. I also get that you've probably never played football or coached football or all you know about football is what you either read on the internet or, you've been listening to Chris Collinsworth for years and maybe Al Michaels back in the day.
Or weird podcasters you listen to.
Weird podcasters. So, yeah, calm down. No, he's fine. He's fine. And actually, some of his schemes are unstoppable with the personnel that we have. You just have to execute.
The players have to execute.
The players have to execute to be able to get those schemes to work.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You know, way back in episode 2 of the Pewtercast.
Ever?
Yes.
Like pre-Ren?
Yes. Way
PR?
before Ren. Yeah. PR.
PCPR. PR Pewtercast. PRPC?
BR. It's before Ren.
Before Ren.
Before Ren.
Not
And
pre-Ren.
then we'll have AR. Anno de Ren.
Automatic rifle.
Yeah. What was I saying?
AR-15.
Oh, way back in episode 2,
Oh.
the title of that episode was "The Bucs Should Fire Dirk Cutter Immediately."
Were you serious, or were you? Just
Well, no, that's when I was trying to do my like journalistic, like come up with a catchy title, because what I was saying was the Bucs need to give Dirk Cutter the full run of his 5-year contract with a couple and very specific things. That if these couple of things were to happen, then fine, go ahead and fire Dirk Cutter. But outside of that, give him his full run of his 5-year contract because we can't keep having this revolving door at head coach.
Yeah.
And so it was a
And just
small
because the
handful
jackwagon
of-
on the couch that tweets out we should fire.
Exactly.
What would you have called there? Oh, really? What would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody
Can you
asked
design
this-
that for me? Here's a
Yeah.
whiteboard and a pen.
Somebody
Take
asked
care
this,
of it.
if the Bucs go 6-10 this year, does Cutter keep his job?
Depends.
I think yes.
I would like to lean towards yes, but if everybody is healthy and it does become apparent that if he loses the team, if he loses the locker room, that's
Losing the locker room was one of the things that I said.
Yeah.
You should fire Dirk Cutter.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back a la Raheem Morris.
I don't think Dirk Cutter will ever lose the locker room.
No.
He's too much of a straight shooter.
No, he will not lose the locker room. So, you know, a very few, very highly improbable situations, in which case, yes, fine, go ahead and fire him. I don't think any of those are going to come to pass, in which case, Dirk Cutter gets the full run of his 5-year contract. And then probably a contract extension.
That's still debatable.
And I'm not even going to talk extension until we get there. I'm just saying,
You just did.
because I think if you give him
From
the
here
full,
on out.
here's what I'm saying. If you give him the full run of his contract, he's going to earn himself an extension. Is
Yeah.
my prediction, is what
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Which is why give him the full run of his contract. For heaven's sakes, don't start talking about this in year 2. You feel like I know he's been around. This is his 3rd year with the team, but this is his 2nd year here
As head
as
coach.
head coach. So stop it. Stop. You hear that? You hear that, podcast people? Stop. Even the people in the in Facebook, even the people in the chat room are going, firing him is stupid.
Yeah.
I agree. I will never talk about this again. I don't want to say never. It just burns me up. Anyway, Ren, you got anything else you want to talk about, buddy?
Fun day, good day, hot day. I went to the What the Buck tailgate party.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. It's cracked up to me, man. It's a good space. You know, they got a stage and play music all the time, but there's lots of trees, so there's lots of shade. So if you don't have one of those pop-up tents, which I didn't, I just sort of brought myself, and I was hoping to meet up with Brent later, but Brent ditched me for some girl.
Don't let my wife hear you say that. It is not what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. You didn't come meet me at the tailgate for a girl. Is that correct? You were meeting a girl? Is that correct? Is all that information correct?
Yes, but you're missing some very key things that I'm not ready to put out there in public yet.
Oh, really?
I'm not
this
ready
is
to
great.
tell people what's
Perfect.
going on out
so
there.
perfect. But anyway, hamburgers, hot dogs, baked beans, corn, mashed potatoes, nachos, like all that stuff was included. Beer. They had 2 different types of drinks. They had this Bucs rum, and then I guess whatever team they're playing, they had this blue drink for the Giants, and everyone's out there, and they're and there's cornhole, and there's music playing, and it was a good time. They did some pies in the face for charity besides the $20 all you can eat, all you can drink, and yeah, everything was crapped up to be. Or
Crapped?
I should put a K in there. Cracked up to be.
Enunciate.
How many? Never mind. So yeah, if you're gonna come down and you want to do a tailgate, if you're gonna get to a game, go on their website, whatthebuck.net. Turn-by-turn directions. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, guys, that's going to do it for the Instant Cast. I want to say thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat room over at mixler.com/thepewtercast. You can find us after every away game, 9 o'clock on Sunday nights. And stay tuned to the Twitter account to find out exactly what we're doing for the home games we'll let you know as we decide, which will probably be in the moment. So we have that. You can always catch this on the podcast feed. This is not the only show that we do, though. There is a full episode coming up later this week where we'll go in and we'll break down the game as we always do, position by position.
Give grades.
And
Talk about firing Coach Cutter?
No.
No.
Not unless we're talking about how stupid that is. That's the only reason that I'll be talking about that. But so, guys, that's coming up later on this week. So you guys definitely want to make sure you check us out there. Give us a follow, subscribe to us, shoot us a review on iTunes. Or review us anywhere, really. We'll take them all. Send us comments. You can comments, questions, emails. We will read them on the main show to thepewtercast@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/thepewtercast, or at Twitter @thepewtercast. You can follow us there. We do respond to all forms of feedback, so definitely love getting to talk to you Bucs fans. We are fans of the team as well. With that, I am Brent Allen. You can find me on Twitter personally at Brent Allen Live, or on facebook.com/Brent Allen. Ren, where can people find you personally out there on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it. And, as we end every single show, we've got 4 days till the Patriots.
Go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
I snuck it in there. Ha ha.